Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to go over the Pro Tour Lille, as well as just the overall kind of how not just how the event went, but how it kind of shakes up a little bit of the meta with Prism hitting Living Legend, and just kind of, talk about it a little bit. I wanted to kind of get my thoughts and reactions on the event. So first off, the event was great. I stayed up every night, which was probably a bad idea, and watched most all of the event itself. Some of the draft rounds I missed just because those aren't as entertaining to me in Uprising Draft to be able to watch those every single round. But I caught every single CC round. Just woke up early to watch it. I'm Central Time, so it was like what 4 a.m., 5 a.m. my time most of the time, maybe 6 or 7 at the latest. Um, yeah, overall the event was really good. A lot of high level play. Congratulations to Matthew Folks for pulling it out with his like hyper belittle Briar deck, and then as well as Prism player Joris. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but getting first place with Prism. A lot of good talent, a lot of good people in the event itself. But as you can see right here, for the calling, Prism won with Briar gained second. There was 2 Briars and 3 Prisms in that top 8, which is pretty nuts with Dorinthia, Dash, and Viserai. And then in the actual Pro Tour, we had 4 Briars, all 4 making top 4, which is just nuts. And then Dash, Prism, Viserai. So a total of 4 Prisms, if I'm reading this right. 5 Prisms, sorry. 5 Prisms and 6 Briar out of 16 spots. So 11 out of the 16 spots from both top 8s were 2 heroes, which is pretty nuts. Kind of going through it, like obviously Matthew Folks won with his kind of, different style of Briar build. He had 6 belittles running yellow snatches, Toma Fiendal, Promise of Plenty. We've seen this build before. It's like not seen this exact build. We've seen a similar version of this build with Corsham. Some of these similar cards you see people running like the yellow snatches, Promise of Plenty, stuff like that. But his build is just a lot of on hit focused, a lot of crazy, really good cards and cool interactions that can be done. But overall, just really, really strong showing from him. And if you're playing this game, whether you're new or not, like you're gonna see this build. People are gonna net deck this deck until Briar hits Living Legend and play it and see how it works. I will be interested to see how this list works into a Guardian meta, and we'll talk about that in a minute. It's gonna be interesting. But that's to be determined. Couple other decks I wanted to point out was Kristen Hawk's Dash. I watched one of his games against a Prism, and his list is very good. It's a flex Dash list, right? That can go into both the Pounder build and the Induction Chamber build. But the way he played his Dash deck was just amazing. Extreme. He almost got decked out by a Prism, but you could tell like super, super talented player, made all the right decisions, made all the right things. So if you're looking for a Dash deck to pick up, definitely go to Christian's list and see what you can do with it. It's very, very good. I really like some of the choices he made and just the way he played his deck. Like he knew his deck up one side, down the other. Pablo Pintor's Viserai list. I think Pablo is one of the most consistent players in the game, if not the most consistent player in the game. His list very much, had Prism in mind with some of the, 6 lead the charges, stuff like that. Who knows if that kind of stays. However, I think Viserai will be a solid pick going into the next meta. It just might have to be played a little bit differently. But his list is really good. So if you want to check him out, definitely look him up. Kind of his main things was he definitely went heavy in the Shrill. He's running 9 over the Shrills. His 3 Dread Triptychs. You've kind of seen some people get away from that card lately. And then 6 lead the charges, which he may end up changing for something else with Prism kind of being gone. But we'll have to see. And then finally, the Dorinthia list from the top 8 in the calling. This is definitely a straight like Dawnblade build, but really, really good value cards. I think Dorinthia doesn't do as amazing against Oldheim, but I think into a lot of the meta that's going to be coming up, I think she'll do fairly well into, and definitely will be a solid pick. So, excuse me. So definitely take a look at this list as well, at Riego's list, and just see what you think of it. Some key cards that I think are going to be useful in this upcoming meta. I think that all you got is going to be a lot more popular with so much Briar and so much Viserai until one of them hits Living Legend. I think that all you got. As long as Rosetta Thorn's a mainstay in decks, like it's going to be a great card. I think it's going to be more and more useful. I think defense reactions are going to start coming back in. We'll talk about that in a second with all the Guardians. But these are four very good lists. But the event itself was really good. A lot of really talented players showing off some really awesome decks. And that kind of brings us into with Prism Hand Living Legend, like where do we go from here meta wise, and how does it change things up? So I put this in here and I'll talk about it in a second, but I put out a poll on Twitter of like, do you think this improves the meta with Prism Man gone? Does it make the meta worse or does it stay the same? And I believe that my like if I just go here really fast, we'll open up my Twitter, it's fine. I went down, we're looking through my Twitter right now as we're doing this. We're doing this live. I don't care. Everything's public. But I said, how do you think Prism hitting Living Legend will affect the Fab TCG meta health? 54% of people said it'll get worse or be lopsided, whereas 37% said get healthier. So around 20 people said it'll get worse or lopsided into Guardian is what my implied thing was there. And then 37% said improve healthier, and then 8% said stay the same. So like my original thoughts, without going too deep into it, because we still have to see what happens, is it is going to get more lopsided. I think that Guardians are going to be a menace. Um, that's just my opinion. I know Jeremiah still has a chance to kind of fill Prism's role in that illusionist and kind of like counter the Guardians. I think Jeremiah will raise in popularity. So will Dash because they both can kind of play around the Guardians with their kind of like go wide mid range type builds. But I mean, in my opinion, if you're an Oldheim player, you can pretty much just go full ice now. Like, it's not full ice, but full ice earth react and just play like tank. I'm not going to let you play the game style of Oldheim play. Um, to each their own if you enjoy that or not. I do think that it's going to hurt the viewership experience, but I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, please come back to this video and tell me I was wrong. But I do think Guardians are going to be able to just straight leg play like tank Guardian and like say no aggro deck's gonna win. I'm gonna fatigue you. You're gonna lose. I have had some people say like aggro decks are gonna have to adapt, and maybe there are certain aggro decks that can adapt better than others, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I do think that Guardians don't have to respect Prism anymore. And because they don't have to respect Prism, they can really just tank up, right? Really tank up, which will really hurt Aggro's ability to do anything. But we'll have to see. Right now, this isn't a tier list. I just put this together just kind of show kind of where I think that the meta is going to be. I think you're going to have the Guardians. I think the Guardians are going to be at the top. And I don't mean at the top as far as like best deck. I mean, what do people base the meta around, right? In my opinion, a meta in a card game is what do people have to keep in mind 24/7 no matter what deck they play? Like, what do they have to plan for? And in the next meta, you're going to have to plan for Guardian. You're going to have a plan to beat Guardian no matter what deck you play. And that's where the meta is going to be based around. Everything's going to be based around that. Countering it's going to be based around Guardians, playing into it, sideboarding, and stuff like that. So I think the Guardians are going to have a menace. I think Bravo is extremely consistent. I think Bravo early on in this next meta, especially at Worlds, and that's you'll see Bravo be like the best deck in the format, quote, quote, followed up by Oldheim, Briar, and then maybe Dash. But we'll have to see. Then you have the aggro decks. I feel so bad for aggro decks. I think that Briar and Viscerai kind of still have a shot because there's ways they can get around the Guardian play. But again, Oldheim, I mean, if you play one attack on a Channel Mount Rogue turn and I just play an ice reaction on you after blocking out your first attack and make you put a card back on top of your deck, or maybe you just pitch to play Channel Mount Heroic, you're going to continue your turn, you're not going to Arsenal pass, and then I ice react to make you put a card back on top of your deck. Like, I just ruined your whole turn. Um, there's certain things now Oldheim can do, and then the on hits that Bravo can give is just pretty crippling, no pun intended. And see how it is. I definitely think out of all the aggro decks that Briar has the best chance against the Guardians. It's just my opinion because I think Viscerai right now is gonna have a hard time playing against a super tank build Guardian that could just pitch for Rune Chance and really tank you out. It's gonna have to be like a mid-rangey Vis build that tries to get over the top. That's just my opinion. Katsu and Phi, like, good luck. Good luck. You can run D-Reacts, you can run Remembrance, you can run all the tech you want. Good luck beating Guardians that now can just sideboard tank you. Before, like, because of stubbies and because of Guardian kind of having to use some of their deck selection choices to plan for Prism and plan for other decks. Now they don't have to do that. Like if Oldheim just ice reacts you every single time and as a Fi, it makes you put a card back on top of your deck when you're about to trigger Mask. Like what's the point, right? Or Earth reacts you. I think especially Oldheim, like the couple Oldheim Fi matches I saw were just abysmal. Especially the one that was on stream. Like it's just not a good matchup anymore. Like the Oldheims, it's a two pronged thing. One, the Stubbies turn getting rid of Stubbies actually did hurt the Oldheim matchup a lot because getting over that top of that one big swing turns way harder now. And Oldheims are just learning how to play against Fi. So that's really hard. And then Katsu, just forget about it. Like everybody already knows. Anybody who's played this game longer a couple of months knows that Katsu and Oldheim is basically an auto loss. You might as well just turn it in. You're not winning. The Oldheim has to not know how to play their deck to lose. I'm a firm believer. And Bravo is winnable with Fi. I think Fi can go wide enough. It just doesn't feel good. And now that Bravo doesn't have to worry about Prism and can really just go into you hard aggro style and just be really consistent with on hits, it makes it really difficult. And Katsu's just not going to be in a good place if Guardian's the main meta. Just straight up not going to be in a great place. So yeah, there's that. Then you have kind of like the flex spots. Flex is basically mid range in this sense. You have Dash, Dromite, and Dorinthia. I think all three of these decks will just be solid choices, especially Dash. Dromite's a question mark. We'll see if Dromite kind of fills the Prism role and is able to give Guardians a run for their money. But it remains to be seen. And Dorinthia doesn't do very well against Oldheim, but she does do very well against the aggro decks, and then is able to hang with Bravo pretty well. So let's see how that goes. And then you kind of have the rogue to be determined decks. It's going to be interesting to see if Kano is even playable in this situation. I think Reinar has a chance to be really good against Guardian because they can just take away cards from Guardian so they can't block it anyway. Lexi, I don't think is in a good spot, but I put her in here just in case. Like, if we do see still a high aggro meta with some Guardians, or maybe it's like 50-50, Lexi could be one of those heroes that you just pick for a big event, and you're like, I hope I match up into the aggro instead of the Guardian. And then Icelander. Icelander is the biggest TBD. I think Icelander now has a place in the meta. I don't think the Guardian matchup's super abysmal. I think she has a lot of D-React. She has Oasis. She's able to chip, and then play for those Frost Hexes and that big swing turn, residual permafrost. And she plays decently well into the aggro decks. Not completely horrible. So I think she'll be one. Then we have Living Legend. The three that I don't have on here just because I don't have a place for them is Bolton, Levy, and Azalea. If you play those heroes, I'm sorry. They're playable in the meta for sure, but they're just not to the point where these are. So I didn't put them in. But yeah, I think the meta is going to be based around Guardian. Guardian decks are going to rise. They're going to come up. They're going to be the main thing, the main talking point. Aggro decks are going to have to learn to somehow get over the top on them. Like I said, I think Viscerai and Briar have the best chance of that. The Ninjas, like, feels bad, man. It's going to be really difficult. Not saying it's unwinnable. It's just really difficult, especially for Katsu. And then the flex positions, I think these three all can do really well if you have the correct sideboard and you have a plan against every hero. But these are the kind of decks that are just going to take a lot of practice into this type of meta. And then you have like the road deck. So yeah, that's where I think the meta is and where I think it's going. Let me know what you think about it. I do think it's going to make the meta worse inherently, not to the point of like unplayable. Like as a ninja, it's unplayable for me. I'm going to be really sad. I'm going to have to play someone different because I literally just am not going to be able to be competitive with ninjas. It's just how it is. If it's a Guardian heavy meta, like as a ninja player, you're going to hate your life. Like you just are. But game wide, I do think it'll be a little bit more not as fun. But because this was just a really fun balanced meta, in my opinion. There was a big triangle meta. Now the one piece of the triangle is gone. So yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. For me personally, I'm still gonna play Fire Ninja because I love Ninja. But when it comes to being serious about competing, I'm personally really in right now. I'm like looking at Icelander, Dash, and Dory are like my three that I'm looking because I just don't want to play Guardian. And Jeremiah, so like these four right here, I'm just kind of like play testing and having fun with. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of the new meta. Let me know what you think of how the game was, how the event went. It was really fun, really cool. Really looking forward to kind of seeing how everything goes. And yeah, let me know what videos you want to see in the future. If there's anything specific y'all are looking for. It's kind of like all competition right now. So like giving deck techs and giving all these ideas isn't as useful. And it's just I don't feel like on fire to make that type of content right now with all like the high level competition going on. I feel like it doesn't matter as much until we get a new set. It is August 30th at the time of this recording, so Dynasty information comes out tomorrow. Who knows what it's going to be? It's going to be really fun. It says September 1st on their website, so be on the lookout for that. If you're watching this today on September 1st, definitely go check it out. But yeah, hopefully y'all have a good rest of your week, and I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Thank y'all so much.